Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I know a lot of you all might have been out late last night having a little bit of fun. I hate I wasn't there to join you, but I hope you are here ready to have some energy this morning and get fired up about what we have to talk about. So if you're with me, if you hear me, and you're ready to go, on the count of three, I'd like 2 claps. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I love it. High level of engagement with the audience. Thanks, guys. All right, let's get into it. I'm Logan Aldridge. I want to tell you about a date that is very special to me. June 26, 2004. It's a long time ago. Gosh, almost 20 years ago. To me, it's a date that feels like yesterday. Not because it has some negative meaning or effect, but because it's a moment that defined my life in a direction that was unexpected. This day was a Saturday out in North Carolina. Born and raised in North Carolina. My whole family is a bunch of recreational water skiers. And this day was another day of me practicing, training to become a professional competitive wakeboarder. Who in here is familiar with wakeboarding? Oh, awesome. A lot of people. So wakeboarding is the idea of riding a board behind a boat, jumping the waves to do flips and tricks and spins. So I just finished a training day at the age of 13, pretty young, with a friend of mine who lived a few docks down. We went to drop him off at his dock, finished up the Saturday session, said, "Good job, dude. See you in the morning. Let's go have dinner. We'll see you in the morning." We drop him off at his dock. I got my mom, my dad on the boat. They're always on there when we're training. And I began to tidy up the boat, like I always do after a day of riding, putting away life jackets, grabbing the rope. Now, if you're familiar with the way a wakeboard boat is set up and where the rope is, it's attached to this tower. This tower is kind of like right above the middle of the boat and goes out the back so that the rider has some air when they jump. With the rope being connected to that tower and the rest of the rope out the back of the boat, we pushed away from my friend's dock and just had to putt like 5 docks down, just going real slow about this speed in the boat. I began to pull in the rope, like I always do, using this technique of looping it over my thumb and under my elbow. Kind of like you hold your arm like this, like you do with an extension cord. You guys know what I'm talking about? You make those perfect circles. I had a couple loops like that wrapped around my left arm. I looked at the rope. I followed the rope out the back of the boat. And on a wakeboard boat, there's a platform on the back of the boat where you put on your board and you jump in the water. The motor of the boat is actually almost up underneath the boat. So as I looked back and noticed that rope kind of drifted right over the back of the platform and it looked like it was underneath it a little bit, I turned to my dad, standing there with the 2 loops around my arm, and said, "Dad, rope's underneath the boat again." It happens sometimes when you're being a little bit careless, not paying attention. It's not a huge alarm. There's a lot of stuff back there that might be getting caught on that isn't the propeller. So it wasn't a huge alarm, but in that moment I just said, "Rope's caught underneath the boat again, Dad." He quickly goes to turn off the motor, so that just to be cautious about the propeller near the rope. And that split second when he turns off the motor, just 4 feet from me, standing on the back platform of the boat, that rope gets caught by the propeller. It was further underneath the boat than I had thought, than he had thought, than we had expected. That rope instantly got caught by that propeller. Again, mind you, we were just in gear. We were just putting along, just moving. But that propeller's moving so fast, and this rope specifically is almost like a cable. In wakeboarding, you don't want any elasticity with the rope. So this rope literally was coated in plastic and very thin, acted like a cable. So in this instance, if I painted this picture correctly for you, you can imagine I'm standing here holding this rope over my thumb, under my elbow, connected to the tower, out the back of the boat, caught in the propeller, instantly breaks my thumb, slips off of my thumb, and cinches down around my upper arm, bicep and tricep, cutting down to the bone. Now, I know this is a little bit graphic, so bear with me, but I do like to paint this picture appropriately for you. I didn't rip my arm off. I was just standing there on the back of the boat, and all of a sudden my arm was just here, just looking at my arm. And I was looking at a rope coming in one side and going out the other side. No blood at this moment, just shocked at what just happened. A little bit of a pull, standing here looking at my arm. My mother immediately says to my dad, "Wesley, his arm." He steps over, begins to unwind this rope from my arm. As soon as he does so, a massive amount of blood shoots across this 23-foot white boat, turning it red in a matter of seconds. He rips off his shirt, wraps it around my arm, pulls it as tight as he can, sticks a stick in there, and twists it to create a tourniquet. Had he not done so, I would have bled and died in a few minutes. My artery in my left arm was severed. Everything was severed down to the bone. We get to the doc. We are wondering what to do next. My parents don't have a clear path for this unexpected event that just occurred. I remember telling my dad, as we get off of the boat, in the middle of nowhere, by the way, this lake is, Lake Gaston is in the middle of North Carolina, Virginia border, kind of in the middle of nowhere. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know a hospital to go to. But I knew that this was not happening. I knew this wasn't real. This wasn't expected. It's not what we're supposed to do. It's a Saturday. I'm training. I'm just going to go home, eat dinner. We're going to wake up and work on wakeboarding again. This is not supposed to happen. So I tell my dad as he's carrying me off the boat, I said, Dad, just bring me up the walkway, bring me into the house, show me myself. Bring me to my bedroom. You'll show me myself, and I'll wake up from this nightmare. This is not happening. This is not happening. He says, Logan, I'm sorry, but I'll show you. So he brings me up, shows me my bed. I look at my bed, realize I'm not there, take a deep breath as he's holding me in his arms. We carry me out to the driveway, and I immediately start to recognize the reality of this situation. Unexpected, unforeseen event that who knows what this outcome might be. We lay there in the driveway for an hour waiting for the ambulance to get to me, voluntary crew. It was a big summer day and not very busy in the hospital. They show up, my mom gets in the ambulance with me. We begin our ride to the local community hospital. On that ride, I begin to contemplate the severity of this just all of a sudden freak accident. Happened in a split second. And I'm fine, I'm conscious, I'm here, but my arm is just, it's laying in my lap, but I feel like it's laying on the side of me. And I remember looking at my mom in the ambulance or in the ride and saying to my mom, Mom, what if I lose my arm? It was the first moment where it came into my mind, like, okay, this might not just be a scar I have. I might not have my arm anymore. When I said, Mom, what if I lose my arm? She looked at me without skipping a beat and said, Logan, it's just an arm. That statement is the most profound statement that I could have ever heard in that moment, and it's a statement that I use to this day to guide myself when things get tough, when I'm faced with a challenge, when an obstacle is presented, when my mind and perspective has shifted into a negative place, or woe is me, or I can't. I remind myself, Logan, it's just an arm. Those words in the moment for her, I think were just the way for her to cope with the fact that her son just had this accident and bloodshed, and she's just here to make sure he's alive and safe. And yes, that's exactly what that statement said to me too. That statement made me think, well, yeah, if I lose it, it is just an arm. I have another one. Man, it'd be great if I can just tell this story. It'd be great if I can just live to tell this story. And that's what happened. That's what that perspective was. We get to that local community hospital. They quickly realize there's nothing we can do here. We're not a level 1 trauma hospital. They call UNC Children's Hospital. They say, we've got a helicopter in the air on its way. Go to these coordinates. Put me back in the ambulance. We ride out to a cornfield to these coordinates. I am not making this up. This is like out of a movie. And I get out of this ambulance. They wheel me out in the stretcher. And I see this badass helicopter come landing in this field. And I turn to the paramedics. I go, that's for me? And they said, yeah. And I said, that's badass. And so they wheeled me out there, put me into this incredible helicopter. Coolest pilots, coolest crew. Still know these folks to this day. They brought me to UNC Children's Hospital, where they immediately started ripping off the clothes and trying to figure out how to save my arm. Took an artery out of my leg to regain blood flow. Do everything that they could to save this arm. Because I was also left-handed. And to the doctors, the medical communities, they were like, we need to save his dominant arm. It would be really helpful if we could. The reality of the matter was, today's medical technology compared to where it was nearly 20 years ago, limb salvage was not where it is today. They could not get the appropriate blood flow to get the muscles to re-engage to save the arm. We'd missed that window. When you have no blood flow, you have about 6 to 7 hours to regain blood flow to introduce back to the limb. We were on the tail end of that. And those muscles just did not accept the blood. So the result was, I had to amputate my left arm. That was tough. That was tough. I was in the hospital, had a lot of friends and family come in to visit me. Everyone was so sorry So sorry. Rightfully so, I guess. But it was my first exposure to seeing what happens when folks put an expectation on you. Losing an arm, it's a big deal, right? Getting paralyzed, losing a leg, some traumatic accident that results in a permanent physical impairment, it's a big deal. But what happens to our narrative and perspective when our surrounding and our community makes it the biggest deal, makes it the most tragic, unfortunate event that's ever happened in our life? It becomes this adopted mentality of woe is me, this is going to be hard, I'm disabled now, I'm handicapped. I refused to accept that. I was beyond grateful and blessed to have so many people in my life to support me, to come tell me they're here for me. I had teachers from my school coming and telling me, Logan, you were left-handed, lost your dominant arm. Don't worry, we got note takers for you. Don't worry, we'll have a laptop for you. I went to school, I said, put all that crap away. I've got to learn how to write. It was my first exposure to expectations. Expectations were being placed on me left and right, and rightfully so, never out of a malicious place. But let's think about what expectations are, and especially in this scenario. They're prejudgments we place on ourselves and one another that typically limit our potential. Michael Jordan has a great quote, and he says, if we accept the expectations of others, especially the negative ones, we'll never change the outcome. Very, very much resonated with me in this moment. If I accepted that I'll never write again, I'll never wakeboard again, I'll never play lacrosse, I'll never golf, I'll never do the things I did before, then I would just be that person who I was expected to be. That's not how I wanted to live my life, and I was so fortunate at that time to have someone to look up to look towards. That person was Bethany Hamilton. Who here knows who Bethany Hamilton is just by saying the name? Very cool. If you don't, that's all right. Let me explain. Bethany Hamilton, about 9 months before my accident, lost her arm in a shark attack in Hawaii. She's got an incredible movie about her called Soul Surfer, and actually another recent film called Unstoppable. Highly recommend you guys check out. Bethany Hamilton and I are great friends now. I followed her and Alana Blanchard in their surfing tour well before her accident. Saw her accident happen, was devastated. I'm an avid surfer as well. And I was in the hospital and got a phone call from Bethany saying, Logan, it's going to be okay. You're going to figure it out and move on. A year after my accident, I got to go out to Hawaii, teach Bethany how to wakeboard. She gave me some pointers on how to surf. We had an incredible engagement and were able to show each other that human potential is far greater than we know and experience. My message to you is to never set expectations on others or yourself unless you're willing to have them be exceeded. Expectations limit our potential. Human potential is far greater than you know or believe. And the only way that we tap into that is by deciding in our minds to create a breakthrough. And we do that by not accepting the expectations of others. Honing in your attitude and perspective dictates your ability. I have a short video I'd like to show you that is a micro example of the life that I've lived now since losing my arm. My mission is to empower people to pursue their human potential. I focus specifically on people with disabilities and creating more enabling environments for them. I'd like to show you this little video that explains just that.
Hey, Madeline. Being a kid is a wild ride. When I was your age, I didn't know anyone else like us. Someone who knew the challenges we face. I want you to know that you are not alone. When things get harder, remember how strong you are. You are far more capable than you believe.
Don't quit now.
When life gets difficult, challenge yourself to be stronger. I used to dream about having 2 arms again, but now I dream about what I can do with 1.
They keep telling me I'm no different than anybody else. But as I've grown up, you've helped me learn to accept it. And it has become who I am, not what I am.
Our challenges just may be more visible than others.
Life with 1 arm is hard to get used to. But I've learned not to stop. I can do the unexpected, beat the odds, and compete for glory. I wanted to say thanks for teaching me how to tie my shoes. Your friend, Madeline.
Check you out. Good job.
We're far more capable than we know or believe. Thank you all so much. Exceed expectations and be unstoppable. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.